guys, welcome back to the channel and thank you so much for clicking on today's video, and something very different for you guys today than my normal content. I mean, who has not been talking about this today? And that is the bombshell interview that Meghan and Prince Harry gave to Oprah on Sunday. I'm filming this on Monday. It hasn't actually aired in the UK here yet, but obviously I've seen it. And also there is going to be some other clips released later today. So I'm mainly focusing on the main interview. And if there's anything huge that happens, I might put some stuff at the end or release kind of, a little part 2 if any really big revelations in the other clips. But I'm sure they've used the, main points and meat of everything in the interview because it was 2 hours long. As I said, there is a lot to talk about in this interview. I mean, even number one, I've had to change the date on my Meghan and Harry mug now because apparently they got married 3 days before their actual wedding, but we will talk more about that in a second. Just wanted to let you know, if you found this video and you like what you see, you don't like what you see, you just want to be around for some more content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you did enjoy the video, give it a like, as it really helps the channel out. And be sure, I may regret saying this, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section if you saw the interview and what you think about the whole thing. One final addendum: anyone who is thinking that it's hard to pin down what's going on with my accent, I think that I have quite a unique view about this whole Meghan and Harry situation because I grew up in the UK. I'm from the UK. But then I spent 17 to 33, my entire adult life, in the US. I am now back living in the UK at the moment for the past year and a bit. But it is so interesting for me right now because going on, especially social media, half my friends are British, half my friends are American. And I have never seen such a divide between the two countries on my timeline. They're pretty generally in sync with what's going on in the world, albeit, more passionate about certain things in the UK or the US, whatever the situation is. But this is just polar opposites of each other. So it's really interesting from that perspective. Also, I mean, we are all, unconsciously biased, whether we like it or not. I try and look at things through an unfiltered lens, but I did grow up in the UK around the royal family, and my cousin went to school with Prince Harry, so that's also something that I just wanted to mention. And I have also been around aware of Meghan since, even before Suits, when she was on Deal or No Deal. My family used to watch Deal or No Deal together, and we always had like a favorite model, and she was always my favorite, and I did have a crush on her. So that also, just letting that be known, and maybe you'll be able to point out some of my bias in the video. So I'm going to follow the same format of the video and talk about the Meghan bits first, and then talk about the bits with Harry and Meghan. And just from even a standpoint, like, this is such a crazy thing to see. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a royal speak as much as obviously we saw Harry speak in this interview. As when you try and think of the voices of a lot of the other royals, I bet it's hard for you. Like, if you try and picture Kate's voice, it's difficult because they don't really give tons of interviews. It's very much, pictures and things. So just that side alone, and even when they do give interviews, it's normally about charities or about things that, are going on, like Remembrance Sunday, and they're being interviewed about a certain subject. It's never anything like this. I mean, obviously a lot of people have been comparing it to Princess Diana's interview with Martin Bashir, And then, you know, some other people are comparing it to the interview that the Duke of Windsor and Wallace Simpson gave. So, you know, two very controversial interviews as well. So right off the bat, Meghan and Oprah talk about how Meghan went into the royal family kind of very naively, and I thought the point she made about, I grew up in LA, you know, I know what it's like to be around famous people, you know, she was on a television show and had been around that culture and the way things are in LA, and that is just how naive you can see she was about the royal family, because it is a completely different ball game. Like, this isn't just famous people. This is, you know, people that Prince Harry has never known anything but growing up in this institution. And it's not just going and taking pictures. Like, it is a life of serving the crown. So it was, you know, I think that was really interesting that they put that in at the very top of the interview, that she was even going to meet the Queen and didn't even know how to curtsy. Like, she was thinking this was something that they only did facing out into the world. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of people will connect that with in season 4 of The Crown, when Diana first comes in and she's meeting the Queen and Princess Margaret's there and the Queen Mother, and she's having to kind of figure out which one she curtsies to first. And I mean, I'm not saying all British people would, you know off the bat, like, these are the rules, but a lot of people would. Like, you know, I would definitely know that you're supposed to curtsy to the Queen, and it's in, you know, basically their ranking order. So it's just, Meghan obviously had no clue whatsoever about the royal family. And, you know, it's that thing, like, is that her fault? Like, could you say yes? Could you say no? I mean, you could make the argument that she's American and why would she know these things? And, you know, she's thinking of them as famous people, and to Americans a lot of the time that's what they are. But also, she was marrying into this institution, and she's marrying into it in the 21st century, where you can, you know, go on the internet and have access to a wealth of information. I'm not saying that, like, you can Google how to be a royal princess or duchess or whatever, but it's just to go in not knowing anything and thinking everything's going to be fine because we're in love. I mean, it's not like she was Diana and she was 19 years old. You know, she's a grown woman who has a career and she has been married before, and there's just, naive, I think, is being kind to say, but personally I think she should have educated herself more on the subject. But it's easy to sit here and say that with hindsight. I do think that kind of mentioning where Meghan was saying, you know, I didn't know how to curtsy and I didn't know these rules and the national anthem and all these things. And I mean, yes, Diana was in a different situation. She was British and she was brought up very much, you know, in an upper class family around these sort of circumstances. But also, you know, she should have been shown the ropes a lot more than she was. And you think that they would have learned from their mistake before, which is strange because they seem to have learned from that mistake with Kate. I mean, Kate was dating Prince William for a very, very long time, and she was slowly introduced, slowly, you know, started going to things, and obviously she was really, really sure that this is something that she wanted to do. She wanted to give up her life in service to the crown as well. And I don't know whether because Meghan and Harry, and that is one of the critiques I believe William has had, that it was very fast. And maybe if this would have gone on for longer, like, Meghan would have realized more of what she was giving up, because obviously if you're in love with someone, like, you know, you're gonna make it work. but maybe she would have gone in knowing a bit more of, she describes, I was giving up such a full life, and maybe she wouldn't have given everything up, and which also would have brought its own difficulties, but it would have maybe been a different decision than what it was. Switching gears a bit and focusing on the racism that was present, in the media, and it sounds like in the firm as well. I mean, questioning the skin tone of a baby is absolutely 100% racist. Like, there's no way around it. I'm not going to focus too much on that because anyone who's watching this video can tell I am the whitest person alive, and I think that there are people far more qualified to speak on that than I can. So I'm going to link some sources down in the description box of this video that will give you a wealth more information on that than I can. But also, it's easy to see that through those pieces when they're talking about, the avocado thing where Kate eats avocado and it's saving the world, and Meghan eats avocado and it's the worst thing in the world. And the same thing with the baby bump. Like, you cannot deny that there is an undercurrent of racism within a lot of the media's portrayal of Meghan Markle. And I'm not saying every single thing written about her is racist, but there is a lot of stuff that is. I did find it very interesting that stories in the media, they talked about certain ones that they were given a totally different spin to what happened. So, for example, Archie's title. In the media, it was portrayed as though this was Meghan and Harry's decision and they wanted him to live a normal life, etc., etc. And from Oprah's interview, we're led to believe that this was not their decision and that they wanted him to have the title because this would allow him to have the security that, a member of the royal family with the prince title would be entitled to. Meghan also said that, this was a strange decision because when Charles ascends to the throne as a grandchild of the reigning monarch, Archie would, then become a prince and inherit the title. But that actually isn't true because, we have grandchildren of the Queen now that do not have titles. And Prince Harry, Prince William, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are the only grandchildren of the Queen that have prince or princess as their title. So you have Princess Anne's children and also Prince Edward's children, that Princess Anne's children don't have titles at all. They're just Zara and Philip, and Prince Edward's children are Lady Louise and Viscount Severin. So that's not necessarily true. I mean, this has been discussed for many, many years, way before Meghan even came on the scene, that Prince Charles is all about the scaled down members of the royal family. And, the Queen has 4 children that all have 2 children themselves, and all of those children have started to have children. So you're starting to get, very big.
Hi guys, Editing Ash here. I just don't think I was too clear about the Succession to the Crown Act 2013. So Zara Phillips and Peter Phillips do not have titles because their father is not royal. Their mother is Princess Anne, and normally the titles pass through the male line. It's also why Princess Eugenie, her new baby, who was born in February 2021, he doesn't have a title because his father is not royal. The Queen can step in and give the babies a title if she wants to, but they normally pass through the father, and that's also why they don't have a title. Also, some really interesting stuff in the Succession to the Crown Act. I'll link it down in the description box, but it also got rid of the preference for males in the line of succession. So that is why normally Princess Charlotte would be placed after her brother Prince Louis, her younger brother. in the line of succession, but thanks to this act now girls are the exact same as boys and there's no preference. And this act also, got rid of the thing where Roman Catholics, if you marry one, it gives up your place in line. That is not the case anymore. And also, the first 6 people in line to the throne do need the monarch's permission to marry, which you could get into an interesting situation with Archie if Princess Charlotte, Prince George, and Prince Louis haven't had children yet, and you have those 3 taking up the first 3 places, Prince Harry taking up 4th, and Archie taking up 5th. So they would have to get Prince William's permission to marry, but obviously that's not a great circumstance of that happening. Most likely, by the time Archie's ready to marry, at least Prince George and Prince Charlotte probably will have had children because they're that bit older, but it could happen.
There are only so many senior members of the royal family. I mean, I think a lot of people remember in The Crown whenever Princess Margaret had to step down to allow Prince Edward, who had turned 21, to move up. Those are based on real things. And currently there's 8 senior members, working royals, and they are the Queen, the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, Princess Anne, Prince Edward, and his wife Sophie. I mean, the other point in this is that we are getting Meghan and Harry's side of what happened and the fallout, and of course we probably never will get the other side of this story. People always famously say there's always 3 versions of a story: one person's side, the other person's side, and what actually happened. And the Queen and Prince Charles and Prince William, they're not gonna go and speak to Oprah and tell their side of the story, whether it is because they are trapped in this institution. But regardless, the royal motto, never complain, never explain. I really think that they will release something, because it would just be wild if they didn't release some sort of press release. But whatever they say, it will be extremely short and succinct, because never complain, never explain. I mean, the whole thing with the Netflix and Spotify deals, and Harry speaking about being cut off from his family, I think that they were a little bit heavy with that, because Harry is extremely wealthy from the money that Diana left him, and they have been bankrolled by the royal family up until last year. So saying, that they had to do these deals to pay for their security and stuff, it didn't sit the greatest with me. That was probably the portion that I had the least sympathy for them, because I know that they have tons of money, and I just think they were flashing that, we're just like you, we need to pay for our bills and things. And it's like, you're sitting in a mansion, and you, no matter what, like, they still have those royal titles, and they are not working members of the royal family anymore. When they talked also about the other patronages and other military honors being taken away, I 100% think that that was the right thing to do from the Queen's standpoint, because you can't have like people doing Netflix deals that are like representing royal charities, and it just doesn't work. Like, that is never going to work. And I think that the absolute right decision was reached. I was surprised that Harry said that they were thinking about taking away his security, because he is still 6th in line to the throne, and they do still have their main titles. He is still Prince Henry. They are still the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. So I don't know whether we got the complete full story there, but if we did, that is pretty interesting and very surprising. Of course, the most heartbreaking and like part of the interview that I had extreme sympathy, especially for Meghan, was when she was talking about, you know, how bad her mental health got and how she did reach out for help, which, as she said in the interview, like, that is so hard to do. And the fact that they basically said no because of how it would look, like, that is awful. And I think that's pretty indefensible. I don't think that there's any sort of reasoning that you could give that would be okay with saying to someone, no, your mental health does not matter as much as our, you know, facade that we've created. So I really, really felt for her in that, and especially when she's going through like pregnancy, and they haven't been married that long, so it's all very new. And like she said, like, she had given up a lot of stuff and given up pretty much her life. So I did really, really feel for her in those portions of the interview. And now for my final thoughts. I mean, you would be pretty delusional to say that Meghan Markle has experienced no racism from the media, because she absolutely has. Like, there is no question about that in my mind. Again, linking to some people who can speak way more accurately about that subject than I can. And my heart really goes out to her, suffering from, you know, those thoughts and having such a bad time with her mental health. As someone whose own mother was taken due to that situation, I can't say the word on YouTube, but I think you know what I'm saying. And I think that that is just incredibly, incredibly sad that she was driven to that point through, you know, it wasn't just the media. There was obviously a lot of other things at work. And then it's really sad from a standpoint too that, you know, Meghan doesn't speak to pretty much any of her family apart from her mom. And now Prince Harry, like, it's really sad. He only has one brother, and obviously the relationship is not good between them at the moment. The relationship between his dad seems fraught. It's nice to hear that he is still really close with his grandmother, Her Majesty the Queen, but it's just really sad to hear about the other relationships. As I also said, we are getting one side of this story, and that is really important to remember. The other members of the royal family do not have the luxury of free speech and going on primetime television and speaking their truths and their personal feelings on these matters. They are still well within the walls of the royal family and the institution of the monarchy. So will we ever really know the absolute truth? Probably not. I mean, my absolute real thought on this is, I know there is a lot of people out there who don't like Meghan and Harry, and there's a lot of people that do. If you like them, continue to support them, and if you don't, you know what? Keep scrolling. The mute, the block button takes 2 seconds. I just have never been someone who goes to something that makes me actively annoyed or angry, and I really don't understand people who comment, like, not even just this is my opinion, but just really nasty, hurtful things. Just keep on scrolling. You don't have to look at it now. Like, they're in America, they're doing their Netflix or whatever it is, so just don't watch what they put out. And if they do another interview or anything like that, just don't watch it. Change the channel. I think things will continue to be interesting because clearly, you know, they're not going away, and there will be events upcoming, like the revealing of the Diana statue in the UK. Like, Harry has said he will go back for that. Like, after this interview, can he really go and stand there and act like everything's normal? I don't know. That's a question for them, I guess. And sometime in the not too distant future, when Charles is king and William is the Prince of Wales, or even in probably a little bit of a distant future, when William is king, how will that look? Will Harry and Meghan and Archie and their new baby come back and be there for the coronation, or how involved will they be then? Will Archie and the new baby have a title when Charles ascends to the throne, or will they just stay like Princess Anne's children and just remain titleless? Because that seems to allow to have, well, a normal life as a grandchild of the monarch can have. And maybe that's what Meghan and Harry wanted for their children all along, as normal a life as they can as great-grandchildren of the current monarch and grandchildren and niece and nephew of two future monarchs. So as I said, guys, I will, probably do a part 2 if there's any more interesting clips. And I am going to be starting my new podcast called Women in the World. So I am sure I see a Meghan Markle episode and a Kate Middleton episode sometime in the not too distant future. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, as it really helps out the channel. And of course, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I have a pretty even divide on British and American viewers, so I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe, become a member. You'll be getting notifications anytime that I post my podcast or any other videos. Make sure to follow me on social media so you can keep up with everything related to the channel in between my videos. And also, if you enjoy the L Word or the channel, make sure to check out my merch store. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a little bit different, but if it's something you like, maybe, I'm not sure this is not the end of Meghan and Harry, or there's going to be a lot more royal controversies, because there always is. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure to stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.
I updated my cup.